No one visits this side of the shelter anymore. Not since they moved the newer dogs to the front, where the bouncy tails wag with hope, where bright eyes gleam with the promise of adoption, where hopeful families linger with open hearts and new leashes in hand. Back here, past the echoing laughter of volunteers and the cheerful clink of food bowls, it's quieter, dustier, forgotten. The air smells faintly of old wood, disinfectant, and silence. Thick, heavy silence. And in the farthest corner, beneath a flickering overhead light that buzzes like a tired heartbeat, lies a German shepherd. His fur, once thick and proud, now hangs dull and matted, the color of storm clouds at dusk. His eyes, once fiery with intelligence and loyalty, have dimmed to ashen gray, as if the light inside him has been slowly snuffed out. He doesn't bark. He doesn't pace. He doesn't even lift his head when footsteps pass by. He just waits. Not with hope. Not with expectation, but with the quiet resignation of someone who has stopped believing the world has anything left to give him. People walk past his kennel without slowing down. Some glance in, then quickly look away, as if his stillness is contagious. He's been labeled unresponsive, non-adoptable, too far gone. Volunteers whisper that he hasn't eaten properly in weeks, that he flinches at sudden movements, that he stares at the wall like he's watching ghosts. His name is Bruno, but no one calls him that anymore. To the shelter system, he's just case number 117, a file with notes about scars behind his ears, a limp in his right hind leg, and a history of extreme withdrawal. No one knows where he came from. No one knows how he ended up alone, abandoned, and broken in a cage at the back of Maple Ridge Animal Shelter. Until today, something changes. A man walks in, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a faded green hoodie with frayed cuffs and boots scuffed from miles of gravel roads. His hands are rough, calloused from years under car hoods, but his eyes carry a quiet kind of sorrow, the kind that doesn't shout but settles deep in the bones. His name is Elliot. He's 41, a mechanic from a small town in Central Oregon, and he hasn't set foot in an animal shelter since the accident. 2 long, empty years ago. He isn't here to adopt. He tells himself he's just walking, just clearing his head, just trying to outrun a memory that's grown too loud to ignore. But the truth is, he's been wandering for a long time. Ever since the night his world shattered on a rain-slicked mountain road. As Elliot turns to leave, hands shoved deep in his pockets, shoulders hunched against the weight of grief, he hears it, a soft rustle, a whimper so faint most would miss it. And then, something impossible. The dog in the corner, lifeless, silent Bruno, lifts his head, slowly, painfully. His ears twitch, not in fear, not in aggression, but in recognition. Elliot freezes. He turns. Their eyes meet, and in that single suspended moment, time collapses. Memories flood back like a dam breaking. Early mornings on the porch, with coffee steam curling in the cold air. Bruno's warm weight leaning against his leg. Long drives through pine forests with the window down and Bruno's tongue flapping in the wind. Nights by the campfire, where the only sound was the crackle of flames and the soft thump of a tail on earth. How could it be? How could a dog he'd mourned, searched for, cried over, finally accepted as lost forever, be lying right here, trembling, staring back at him with eyes that remember his voice? Elliot takes one step forward, Bruno flinches, just slightly, but doesn't retreat. Instead, with a slowness that speaks of pain, of caution, of a heart that's been broken too many times, he begins to crawl toward the front of the kennel. Every movement is a battle, trust versus trauma, love versus fear, memory versus survival. And just before Elliot kneels down, tears well in his eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming certainty that washes over him like a wave. He knows. He knows exactly who this dog is. It's Bruno. His Bruno. The dog who licked his tears after his wife's funeral. The dog who slept beside his bed during the darkest nights. The dog who ran 3 miles through snow to find him when he got lost hiking. The dog who never needed a leash because his heart was already tied to Elliot's. But how did they get separated? It all comes rushing back. The storm that rolled in faster than forecasted. The flash flood that swallowed the mountain pass. The truck sliding off the road, rolling once, twice, before crashing into a ravine. Elliot waking up dazed, ribs cracked, head bleeding, and Bruno gone. The passenger door wide open, muddy paw prints vanishing into the rain. He searched for weeks, posted flyers, called every shelter from Bend to Boise, slept in his truck outside trailheads, cried until he had no voice left, and when hope finally died, he buried it deep and stopped talking about Bruno altogether. Now, standing here, he realizes Bruno never stopped looking. This dog, once proud, alert, full of life, had been carrying his own shadows. The visible scars told part of the story. The thin frame, the limp, the patchy fur. But the invisible ones ran deeper. Bruno had learned the hard way that the world could be cruel, that kindness could disappear overnight, that the voice you trusted most could vanish in the rain. And yet, even now, even after all that, he remembered. Elliot kneels slowly, giving Bruno space, giving him time. Bruno, he whispers, voice thick with emotion. The dog's ears twitch again. His tail, so still for so long, twitches once, just once. He doesn't leap, doesn't wag wildly, doesn't bark. But he takes one step, then another, until his nose is just inches from Elliot's outstretched hand. And in that fragile inch of space between them, a lifetime of grief, guilt, and longing dissolves. Elliot's tears fall freely now. "It's really me, buddy," he says, voice breaking. "I'm here." And for the first time in 2 years, Bruno presses his head into Elliot's chest, not gently, but with a desperate, trembling urgency, as if trying to fuse himself back into the life he'd lost. Elliot wraps his arms around him, burying his face in the familiar fur that still smells faintly of pine and earth, and sobs, deep, heaving cries that have been trapped inside him for 730 days. "I thought I lost you," he chokes out. Bruno whimpers, a sound so full of relief, apology, and love, it could break the hardest heart. Nearby, a shelter worker named Hannah watches, tears in her own eyes. She's the only one who never gave up on Bruno. She brought him extra blankets in winter, left soft music playing at night, sat silently outside his kennel when he wouldn't eat. "You know him?" she asks softly. Elliot nods, still holding Bruno like he might disappear again. "He's my dog. He's my family." Hannah's breath catches. "You're that guy? The one from the posters 2 winters ago?" Elliot looks up, surprised. "You saw those?" She offers a sad smile. "They were everywhere. Tri-county rescue boards, gas stations, post offices. But then, silence. We thought you'd given up. I did, Elliot admits, voice raw. I just didn't want to admit it. Over the next hour, something miraculous unfolds. Bruno begins to remember, not just Elliot, but joy. When Elliot pulls a faded blue tennis ball from his jacket, the one with bite marks and years of muddy adventures, Bruno's tail moves again. Not a wag, not yet, but a flick, a spark. Later, paperwork is signed. Not quickly, not easily, but with fierce determination. Elliot will do whatever it takes. As they walk out of the shelter together, Bruno limping but leaning into Elliot's leg, eyes no longer empty but watchful, hopeful. Volunteers stop what they're doing. Some cry. Others record on their phones. Not for drama, but because they're witnessing something rare, healing in real time. Back home, the house is the same. Porch swing creaks. Clock ticks. Photo of Elliot's late wife still sits on the mantel. But the air feels different, lighter, warmer, alive. Recovery isn't instant. Bruno startles at thunder, flinches at raised voices, stares at his reflection like it's a stranger. Some nights he paces, others he hides under the bed. But Elliot doesn't push. He waits. He speaks softly, sleeps on the couch so Bruno knows he's not alone. Slowly, trust returns. Bruno follows him room to room, presses his head into Elliot's hand during storms, steals socks, chases fallen leaves. 6 months later, on a snowy December morning, they sit together on the porch, Bruno's head resting on Elliot's boot, eyes closed in peaceful sleep. Elliot scratches behind his ears and whispers, "I used to think the story ended the day I lost you." Bruno opens one eye, just for a second, as if to say, "It didn't. We're still writing it." And that's the truth. Love doesn't forget. It waits. It heals. It comes home.